So in this video, I'm going to explain how the rich avoid paying taxes and how this idea to tax the rich is a ridiculous proposition. Now, before I start this video, I want to say that I'm not some right-wing fanatic, and I was actually extremely left-wing, borderline socialist when I was in university. I believed in the idea of taxing the billionaires at 90% and redistributing that money to society. But then as I got older and started working, I became more and more conservative, to the point I would argue I'm center or maybe even center-right at this moment in time. I realized so much of my beliefs were wrong and didn't truly understand how the system works. Most of my beliefs actually came from my quasi-Marxist lectures, which have brainwashed me into this worldview. Hence why I think universities are the main indoctrinators of people when it comes to this type of thinking. So the rich don't pay taxes because on paper, not only they're not rich, but billions in debt instead. What the rich have figured out that normal people haven't is that they will borrow money and invest it risk-free and then keep the profit and pay back the debt. Let's say you want to buy a property. They will borrow the money from the bank and buy the property, and now they are indebted to the bank. Then they will use the property that they have bought as collateral to borrow more money, since they already have an asset that they can theoretically sell to raise capital. You do not pay taxes on debt. Plus, the interest rates have always been lower than the tax rate. So the rich love debt compared to the poor man mentality that thinks debt is bad. So the rich have all their money in stocks, bonds, assets, and trust funds. These things cannot be taxed. How will you go to an individual and tax their assets and stocks that they have? You can't unless they sell it to raise capital. But the rich never do that. They only invest and reinvest the money and try to minimize the capital that they raise so they can avoid paying taxes. Then they will pool all their money in what is called a trust fund with different trustees. Trust funds are a fund with multiple different individuals have access to. These funds can hold assets and liabilities, which all individuals can use. Therefore, they can borrow a yacht or a property, however, they do not own that property or yacht. The trust fund does, as one of the trustees, they can have access to it. So in essence, they do not own anything. What the rich have realized is how to play the capitalist system and use it to their advantage instead of complaining about it, compared to their angry socialist counterparts. Additionally, there are multiple different jurisdictions and laws across the world. A millionaire or a billionaire might live in London, but their company is actually registered to Ireland, which have a more favorable tax code for businesses. Then their company in Ireland can own another company as an umbrella of companies in another country, let's say Dubai, which have access to a trust fund in Singapore that will allow them to borrow a private jet. It makes it extremely difficult to tax such individuals, as there are hundreds of different jurisdictions around the world with different tax codes. Does that make sense? The rich have mastered the art of funneling their money through multiple different companies and using loopholes which allow them to live a luxury life whilst being millions in debt. That's why it's difficult to tax them, because on paper, not only they don't have any money, but also millions in debt, in some cases billions. The rich always say debt is good, contrary to the normal person which think debt is bad. Let's look at Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter, for example, which he paid $44 billion for. But then again, he didn't pay $44 billion of his own money. What he did was he went to the bank and asked for $44 billion whilst using his Tesla stock as collateral. Meaning, he used his stocks to say, I could sell them and buy Twitter myself. However, I want to keep my stocks as I'm the founder of the company and essential for his future. So the bank gave him the money to buy Twitter, and now he's paying back the bank using Twitter itself through advertising money and other sources. He now finds himself owning one of the biggest social media companies whilst keeping all other of his businesses without spending any of his own money and not paying any taxes in the process. That's basically what the rich do. So basically, in a nutshell, if you want to get rich, borrow money, either from a bank or an individual, private investor, invest it, keep the profit and pay back the debt. Then use your investment as collateral to borrow more money, then repeat the same process. However, that being said, an individual needs initially to raise a bit of capital, either through work or other means, maybe around $100,000, to be able to kickstart this process, as the banks will only borrow to those who they feel like can pay back the money. That's probably the hardest part, but once the process has started, it becomes very easy. Additionally, the rich are extremely good at investing their money wisely. They usually invest in commodities and assets that have long-term value and pay dividends over time. These could include property, stocks, bonds, silver, gold, as well as other businesses with proven track record over time. They tend to stay away from buying liabilities that lose their value over time. They also do not save money, as they realize that money is just a concept. Instead, they invest their money on things that have long-term value. Even when they do save money, it's only for a brief period of time, so they can find a suitable investment opportunity. I hope this video helped. Thank you for watching. Get rich or die trying, and never complain about the capitalist system, because that's what losers do. That's not to say that the capitalist system doesn't have its own issues. I will make another video on how the capitalist system can be improved from a progressive aspect to give everyone a decent chance of becoming rich. So make sure you tune in for that one. Till next time.